You're listening to the Doctor Is In podcast. This is the show where you get the best tips, tricks, and nutritional hacks to help you and your family get healthier. You'll also hear what works and what doesn't work so you don't have to waste your time and money. All right, let's get started.
Hello, I'm Dr. Martin Jr.
And I'm Dr. Martin Sr.
And this is the Doctor Is In podcast, and this is episode 120.
Wow.
Already 120 episodes. And actually today, we're actually going to be doing a two-part. We talked about it off air, and there's just so much information that we're actually going to break this into two parts. So in our next episode, episode 121, we'll kind of finish off. And what we're going to talk about really is anti-aging. We're going to give a very good, somewhat in-depth talk about anti-aging and real anti-aging. Not none of this fake anti-aging stuff with just like one miracle cream.
Yeah, Botox.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. We're talking about, really the difference between also internal, like the physiology of aging versus externally what you see with your skin. Now, remember, your skin is the largest organ. And in a lot of ways, it's just a reflection of what's going on the inside, right? If you're healthy, your skin generally is healthy. If you're not healthy, your skin usually ages faster, it breaks down quicker, all those kind of things, right? So, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But we also, to start off with, let's talk really quickly about the concept of biological age versus your real age.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting concept, right? Because you have an age, a chronological age. I'm 44. That's my chronological age. But then I also have an age of how old my cells are really. And that's more important than my actual chronological age, the actual health of my cells. If somebody is in their 50s and their biological age is as somebody who's in their 30s, that's awesome. But there are a lot of people as well who are in their 40s and they got the biological age of their cells is up in their 50s, 60s, 70s, right? Yeah. So, and a lot of it has to do with how we live our life, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. So anti-aging really has to start at a younger age. It's hard to kind of just all of a sudden make up for a lot of years of damage on the inside of the body, but it doesn't mean it can't be done by any means. We're going to give some good tips on how to do that. But so we want to start off by talking about, when we talk about anti-aging, what we're really talking about is your biological age, not your chronological age. We want to make your insides, your cells and everything like that younger, and then that will reflect on the outside as well so that you won't look your age. But if you don't want to look your age, you have to have a healthy insides. You have to have healthy cells, healthy mitochondria, healthy microbiome, and we'll talk about those things coming up here. But that's kind of laying the foundation of what we mean by anti-aging. A lot of times anti-aging is all external. It's skin. Those are anti-aging things, right? Those are the external. But we're going to talk anti-aging in terms of biological age, which then always translates to looking younger, actually looking younger. So that's what we're going to talk about for the next 2 weeks. And how we're going to divide that up is that this week we're going to talk about a concept that you and I talk about quite a bit off air, which is the idea of the anorexia of aging. Now, we've mentioned this in emails before, but we're going to talk about what we mean by the anorexia of aging. And then in the next week's episode, we're going to talk about the hormonal effect of aging. What happens to your hormones as you age, and why do your hormones seem to get more messed up as you get older? And we'll get into that more next week, because that's also going to be a very interesting episode. So let's start off by talking about this concept of the anorexia of aging. But I guess even before we do that, I want you to imagine just a graph, if you can. So if you're listening, just imagine a nice little graph when you're aging and all the functions. So the line starts up high and it starts to go down as time goes on. And that line should be a nice steady decrease down. And that's a normal aging process. However, because of a lot of things that are going on today, what you're seeing is that line decreases a lot faster than it should. And what we're talking about a lot of times is what we call that aging gap. It's the gap between where you should be and where you're actually at. In a sense, you're aging faster than you should. So let's talk about this concept of anorexia of aging and what we mean by that. Just like the word means, as you age, certain things get smaller primarily your brain and primarily your muscles.
Yeah.
So a big part of aging is this anorexia of aging. It happens to everybody. It doesn't have to happen at a fast rate or as fast of a rate as it does for a lot of people. But let's talk about those two things. A key part of aging, and specifically anti-aging, has to do with slowing down the shrinking of your brain and slowing down the shrinking of your muscles. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the brain first, because we know as you age, your brain gets smaller. And brain volume is one of the factors that works its way into dementia and Alzheimer's. Everybody's brain shrinks as it ages. That's normal. You lose a little bit of brain mass every year. However, what we're seeing today is it's happening at such a faster rate for so many more people. It's actually scary when you think about it. It used to be that the only way, it used to be this: if you smoked, your brain shrunk faster, right? They found smaller brain or faster brain shrinkage in people that were obese, people that had high blood pressure, people that smoked. So those were external things that people would do that would shrink their brain. But now we're seeing it a lot more common.
It's an epidemic today.
It is. So part of anti-aging has to do, or you have to deal with the fact that you have to slow down the rate at which your brain is shrinking. Let's talk about how you do that. So if I'm a patient of yours and I come in to see you and I want to protect my brain as I age, what do you tell me?
Well, a couple of things, right? I'm always a food guy. The first thing that we do, I love teaching, right? In a sense, doctor means teacher. So I say, well, let's analyze your brain, okay? Like, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. You know, what is your brain made up of? Fat, right? DHA. Your brain is made up of fat. So if it's shrinking, maybe it has to do somewhat with your diet, right? Because the fat-free craze, which is, been going on for, what kind of an experiment have we had in nutrition the last 50 years? The greatest failed experiment has been going on in human history in terms of medicine has been in the last 50 years. The fat-free diet, which is a high carbohydrate, high sugar diet. So now people don't get enough fat in their diet. Like, the average person is very, very low in omega-3. They don't get enough fat. They don't get enough saturated fat in their diet because fat has been the boogeyman, right? And in the modern society, if you went through, we live here in Sudbury. If you went anywhere, go to the mall here and let's do a survey and say, okay, like, if you really have to cut out certain foods, what would they say? Well, I wouldn't eat too many eggs, and I wouldn't have any bacon, or I wouldn't have too much butter because my doctor says I got to watch my cholesterol, right? So, I mean, that just, people buy that hook, line, and sinker, right? And it's not true at all because, the experiment has failed.
Well, and part of the problem is because people have been so scared of cholesterol for a long time that they've done whatever they can to reduce cholesterol levels. And unfortunately, cholesterol and brain, that's so important. You need cholesterol for functioning proper health of your brain. That's an issue, which is why one of the side effects, and a lot of people experience this when they're on a cholesterol-lowering medication, it actually affects their memory.
Yeah,
it makes sense. You need cholesterol for your brain. So, yeah, you're right. That in itself has led to a big problem that you're seeing when it comes to brain health is people have been scared of fat for a long time.
Yeah, so if someone calls you fathead, take it as a compliment, right?
And probably the number one reason why brain is shrinking at a faster rate today, or why somebody may be at risk for brain shrinkage today, has to do with high circulating insulin. There's no question. When your insulin levels are chronically elevated, one of the side effects of that is a faster shrinking brain.
Yeah,
there's no question, right? So that is a big part of it. So as you age, you have normal brain shrinkage, and you can accelerate that shrinkage by having chronically high levels of insulin circulating.
Yeah,
that's one thing. If you want to protect your brain, if you want to have proper anti-aging, you have to really limit the amount of crappy carbs and the amount of crappy vegetable oils that you're consuming. Because, let's be honest, one of the worst things that's happened over the last 30 years or 40 years have been the proliferation of these vegetable oils that are just not good for you.
Yeah, and they oxidize. And, I show patients a chart in the office that, that's got two big sort of arrows to it, like from when you're eating crappy carbohydrates with high omega-6s, the vegetable oils, the highly refined, industrialized oils that are found in every middle aisle of your grocery stores. Go through there, and almost every food there is that. And then, with high circulating insulin, like I say, I put two arrows over, and one goes over, and there's a whole category there of what we call glycation end products, right? AGE. And it's a beautiful illustration because, medicine has given it a name, AGE, and it literally ages your body because of the inflammation status. And, look, it's a little complicated, in terms of just trying to explain it. If you are eating, like you just said, like with these crappy carbohydrates, high vegetable oils, you are literally aging your body because of what they call glycation end products. It has to do with...
it's wearing your joints down faster.
Yeah.
It's wearing your skin down faster. I mean, that's one of the number one anti-aging things you can do is reducing those AGEs, right? Which is really... just as a quick aside, one of the questions we get about oils all the time has to do with smoke points, right? People are asking about smoke points because, it got out there for a while that you want a high smoke point oil, and that's kind of partially true. I'll give you an example. A lot of vegetable oils actually have a very high smoke point, but that doesn't mean they're healthy, right? Mm-hmm. It actually has to do with how fast they oxidize, right? So that's a more important thing. Smoke point is not the only determinant that you look at because, as I mentioned, there are a lot of crappy oils that have very high smoke points that you should not be using. So that's not necessarily what we look at when it comes to oils, the smoke point. We like real oils, not the fake vegetable oil stuff. We like the real stuff like the olive oils and the coconut oils. And we like the real things more than, and butter, right? Bacon. I've said this before, but
lard.
Yeah, bacon, bacon gets vilified, and olive oil is like this healthy Mediterranean diet oil. And they got the same essential fatty. So anyways,
oleic acid.
Yeah, they both have good levels of oleic acid in there. But anyways, a big aspect of aging is your brain shrinking. So obviously, a big part of anti-aging has to do with protecting that from happening. And as you've mentioned, DHA, getting enough omega-3 fatty acids, keeping your insulin levels low, keeping your inflammation levels low are key, really, when it comes to brain health, right? Now, another thing that kind of goes through this anorexia of aging, and it's another big problem, probably
as big.
Yeah, just a real big issue because it is a leading cause of disability, which is sarcopenia, right? So your muscles become anorexic as you age. In fact, after the age of 40, you can lose roughly 8% of your muscle mass every decade. 8%. And if you come into your 40s and you don't have a lot of muscle mass to begin with, then, think of what
That's
does.
why you can be skinny and very unhealthy, right? Because, people look, you're big and you're unhealthy. I've seen a lot of people with every marker that we test in the office, like inflammation markers, the free radical markers, everything that we look on the internal stuff, and they're very unhealthy, and yet they're skinny as a rake, right?
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because, and this is something that is worth repeating, insulin resistance, which is just pretty much the cause of everything, obesity only predicts 15% of insulin-resistant cases, which means that 85% of the people that have insulin resistance are at a normal weight. Think about that, because it's always associated with obesity, but that is simply not true. It only indicates 15%. So you can have somebody who's very thin and still have insulin-resistant issues. They're still insulin resistant. It's just showing up differently. Obesity is a symptom of insulin resistance. So can joint pain. So can tendon pain. So can high blood pressure. There's so many aspects of high insulin that obesity is a terrible, terrible marker for that. And what we're seeing, and this is amazing. I mean, you would think that this would not be the case. But what we're seeing now is a high amount of obesity and sarcopenia mixed together. So you have a lot of people that are thin that have sarcopenia, muscle wasting. You have a lot of people that are obese that also have muscle wasting. So it's a big problem. And you lose, like I said, every decade you lose about 8% of your muscle mass. And then when you get into your 70s, you lose 15%. So the idea is, if you want to anti-aging, and we tell this all the time, building lean muscle is like it's like a retirement account. It doesn't pay off right away necessarily, but it pays off on the back end. Because if you can build muscle and you can maintain muscle as you age, your protein requirements go up, not down. And that's the problem. Your appetite as you age goes down, so you're naturally going to get a lot less protein. But you need more protein as you age. And there's a lot of studies showing that when seniors increase their protein count, their muscles get healthier. Their quads, which is so important when you age, quad strength, quad muscles.
Yep.
When it comes to anti-aging, one of the most important aspects of that would be to prevent your muscles from wasting away, to give you sarcopenia. Because I'll tell you, if you want to live well on the back end of your life, you don't want sarcopenia. You're fragile. And if you have sarcopenia, you have osteoporosis, because they are the kissing cousins.
Yeah.
They don't go anywhere without the other.
And you're going to fracture a hip, and you're going to go downhill.
And you don't fall because of osteoporosis. You fall because your muscles can't control anything. You fall because of sarcopenia. Sarcopenia is what makes you lose your balance. That's why people fall. But when they fall and they got weak bones, they break things. And I'll tell you, when you fracture a hip, for a lot of people, unfortunately, that's the beginning of the end, because their life gets even less mobile, right?
Yeah.
So a big part of anti-aging is not, we're going to talk about skin, because we understand the appeal. A lot of people want to look young. But I'll tell you, you will not look young if your insides aren't healthy, if your biological age isn't low. True anti-aging is not appearance. The appearance is an after effect. It's a benefit of aging.
Yeah.
Well, it will happen. However, things like muscle mass, if you want anti-aging, you need muscle. You need muscle. And that's the key. So what's happening is that these people, like I said, I'm in my 40s. I got to be building muscle, because I'm losing muscle at a certain rate all the time. I got to outwork that. I got to build more muscle than I'm losing. I don't want to just maintain status quo. I want to add more muscle, because I get older, I'm going to be losing more muscle.
Yeah, you're putting it in the bank.
So that means I got to be doing, I mean, the only way to build muscle is you got to get enough protein to build muscle. So you got to have enough protein consumption, and you got to be lifting weights. You don't build muscle from running. In fact, running for a lot of people actually can have an opposite effect of, it can actually age you quicker, because it actually can break down. Running could be very catabolic, especially long distance running, right? I mean, look at the winners of the marathons. They got no muscle mass. They're already at a higher risk for a lot of things. However, my point is this: anti-aging, when it comes to actual anti-aging health, protect your brain, protect your muscles. And you protect your brain, keeping your carbs, keeping your sugars, keeping your vegetable oils, keeping the free radicals down. Allow your brain to age and stay at a normal size and shrink at a normal rate, and keep your muscles healthy. By doing that, that's a big chunk. That's a big chunk of aging right there. And those, whenever we started a discussion on anti-aging, those are the two things we always start with. We always start with the anorexia of aging. What happens physically when you age? Brain shrinks, muscles waste away. Let's stop that, or at least diminish that as much as possible, right? So that's the starting point for anti-aging. Now, on our next episode, we're going to talk about all the things that happen internally when you age. What happens to your testosterone levels? What happens to your estrogen levels? What happens to your growth hormone levels? So that's on our next episode. That's going to be a good one as well. But we want to lay the foundation of anti-aging to help you understand the importance of aging well. And that means you need a brain. I'll tell you, if you're in your 60s or 70s and you look like you're in your 40s, but your brain is finished, you'll be the best looking person with Alzheimer's. You'll be the best looking person with dementia. So there's more to it than just putting the right creams on your skin. We want you to actually live well. We want you to age well. Skin is an automatic benefit of that.
Yeah.
But we just wanted to, because we get frustrated when we see a lot of this anti-aging stuff out there, and you got plastic surgeons everywhere, and that's anti-aging. No, it's not. That's not anti-aging. That anti-aging is from the inside out, and that's how it's going to happen. So, okay, tune in next week because we're going to finish this off. But again, we thank you for listening to this episode. If you have any questions, you can email us at info@martinclinic.com. If you're not a newsletter subscriber, go to our website, martinclinic.com, sign up for our newsletters. And then also, if you're listening to us on iTunes, if you can leave us a review, just a quick review, that would help us out tremendously. It allows more people to hear our podcast, and we would appreciate that greatly. So again, thank you for listening. Have a great day.